Hey everyone, good morning. Hopefully you guys are doing okay this morning, Friday morning. We got another Watchmen update. We got the latest on the investigation. We have backlash happening, of course, out there. We got updates on world events that they're kind of flying under the radar right now. Nepal is not looking good. We got Poland continuing to throw its hissy fit, and Germany is deploying more aircraft and air defenses to Poland. We got to talk about zero ground beef out there. We're starting to see meat shortages. These are your reports coming in. Produce struggling across the country. Utilities moving into remote monitoring and switching off your power. They're trying to put this into law. What you need to know about that. We got hay and leaves apparently being poisoned with stuff. And what is wrong with bread? Yeah, we got that and a whole lot more. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and these are your updates that you guys are sending in from all over. If you have something to share, make sure you use the word update somewhere in your comment. That gets it to the right place. We do want to thank our sponsor, Genesis Gold Group. They've been a loyal sponsor of this channel. They believe in what we're talking about, what we're doing, that people need to flee to safety, get stocked up on food, but also make sure that your retirement plans, if you have a 401k, an IRA, just a little bit of time can really help you to secure that, to make sure that you and your family are going to be all right in the future, no matter which way things go. Physical precious metals in your retirement accounts. If you want to find out more, there'll be a link at the end of the video. All right, we have the FBI has shared on their Twitter account images of the suspect in the incident in Utah. Are we allowed to talk about the incident in Utah? No, we're not allowed to talk about the incident in Utah. Is that a surprise to anyone? Yeah. Well, we got Crowder out there releasing internal information from the investigation on what was written on the casing of the boomstick seeds that were used, and apparently confusion over bathrooms mixed with militant leftism appears to be the reason, which is basically what we all expected, but it does seem to be getting confirmed out there. MSNBC had Matthew Dowd say something a little too extreme, even for them, which is surprising, and they fired him. Apparently, what he said was just too inappropriate, too insensitive, and unacceptable, basically suggesting that he had it coming, that he asked for it, essentially. And that's just, it's patently insane. These people, how do we live with them? That's the question I think a lot of us are asking right now, is that we've tried peaceful. Is things going to go a different way? Fortunately, we have the government mostly on our side, and so maybe we can try to legislate or to use the government to enforce the laws that exist to hold things. Charlie will be awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and Vice President J.D. Vance will be headed to Utah yesterday. All right, moving over to around the world. Craziness is happening elsewhere, not quite to the same extent or hitting quite as close to home, but I want to keep you updated on what's going on. Nepal is burning. Now, the military has taken control of Kathmandu, and embassy staff as well as Western media are taking the opportunity to flee the country. And so that means that the information coming out of Kathmandu and Nepal is becoming a lot less reliable. We're losing information, and because the journalists are fleeing. So we're starting to see more just information that's leaking out onto social media. But the problem is social media has been blocked in the country. So only people that have pirated connections are even able to get out of Nepal. So just because it's kind of radio silent and we're not seeing images and videos, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Nepal blocked social media. They don't have access to YouTube. They don't have access to Facebook. They don't have access to Twitter. How are they supposed to get the information out and the videos out? It's difficult, but the situation is not good there. Poland, who had a few drones fly over their territory and is in the midst of a hissy fit over that. Basically, they have restricted air traffic to eastern Poland, drones as well as manned aircraft, basically trying to keep that whole zone free, and they are patrolling with their fighter aircraft a lot more intensely. Germany announcing that they are expanding their mission to defend Polish airspace. They're doubling their Eurofighter jets deployed. And if you're like, what are Eurojets or Eurofighter jets? Well, imagine a crappy Chinese knockoff of an F-16 fighter jet that costs twice as much. And that's basically what a Eurofighter jet is. And if you're a European and you just got triggered by that, sorry, but it's the truth. It's the truth. It's what happens when you, at some point you just look at the United States' military-industrial complex and you say, this thing's out of control. But then you look at what the Europeans are doing and you're like, I'm glad I'm American. Because, you had France that basically had a Eurofighter that they built the Rafale about, right? Well, they sold those to India, and let's just say they didn't fare well against the Chinese fighter jets they went up against in Pakistan. All right, I'm going to get in trouble for speaking so much truth all at once. Anyway, Marty says, as we drive to New York, we have been there for the last few years at the same time of year. There are always tons of Amish and Mennonite food stands along the way. We talked to a lot of them about their crops this year, so thank you for getting that information and to us. Let's see what they have to say. The apples are later this year, so they're slow, but they are coming in. Corn did really well this year, of course, because it's genetically modified. Anyway, cabbages, much smaller this year. There were less tomatoes this year, so even the Mennonites and Amish are seeing that as well. Peppers are just starting to really produce. They were really late this year. The corn feed is very far behind, and it was similar to a garden in Iowa. One farmer said that he thought the smoke had slowed the produce this year. Also, the lack of rain. After nearly a 1,600-mile drive, there were hardly any bugs on our windshield. So we're getting that report out there from a whole bunch of people. Where'd all the bugs go? And since the bugs disappeared, now we're asking the question, where'd all the birds go? And it may be that the bugs disappeared and the birds just don't have anything to eat. Serious problems out there. No one's talking about it. That's actually kind of the more surprising thing about it, is that we have such massive shifts in our ecology, the whole system of animals is just upended and just nobody's talking about it. It's just kind of like just a few of us here on the internets, on YouTube's talking about it, and yet all of you guys are seeing it. But nobody has a reason. Nobody has an answer to it all. Cooker says, chemical fire in southern Indiana. This was the Newburgh chemical fire. The news was spread mostly through social media outlets, no phone alerts, as the news stations were also quiet about it. They issued a shelter-in-place warning around 3 o'clock for the affected area on social media. Our little restaurant was right on the line. I didn't see any smoke or smog from it, nor smelled anything, so we stayed open. About 8 p.m., the fire department advised us to close down with the changing winds starting to drive things in their direction. So we did. We're hearing reports of people being sick from the chemicals, but we're not sure about that. This plant has had issues in the past as well. The fire is now out. But there's reports from a lot of the folks in the area that there's a lot of fallout happening. Ruth says the food pantry in my area has been closed now for a few weeks because no one has had food left to share, considering the price of food. It's in southern Illinois. We're hearing a lot of food banks just aren't getting enough food, and there's so much demand on them that they're just being wiped out. Friends, when things get tough and you need the help, will there be help available? Maybe not. That's why we talk about getting stocked up on food for you and your family, because there may not be any help for you. I know, in good times you were able to help other people, but when you have hard times, you may not find any help from anyone else. NT says, I'm in central Indiana, and I had the owner of a small store that sells some produce tell me that there are 2 produce wholesalers in Indiana, and all the stores buy from them. So just these 2 big conglomerates that bring produce in from out of state. If the product from the wholesalers is moldy, then that's all these stores have to sell. This particular store buys the overages so that if a big chain grocery store decides that they order too much of something, then this store is able to buy what they didn't want. Usually the store has lower prices and the quality is the same as the big chains. Yeah, there's different stores, but if they're all using the same suppliers, it's the illusion. It's the illusion. That was one thing that was just really kind of interesting going through Spain, was that they had very few chain restaurants. It was all these mom and pop restaurants, cafes where they all cooked everything from scratch. And you compare that to the United States, where you go into different restaurants and different places, and you notice how all the food tastes the same. And really, when you get down to it, GFS, Cisco, these big restaurant supply warehouses, there's only a few chains of suppliers, and these chain suppliers supply a lot of the same, a lot of all the restaurants. So if you have little cafes, mom and pop cafes or whatever, you'll notice that the food tastes awfully similar to what you get in like an Applebee's, or these restaurants all use the same suppliers. It's an illusion of differentiation. And that's when we get into the grocery stores and you find out that the Albertsons, the Krogers are using the same suppliers as the Walmarts out there. Suddenly, the produce issues make a lot more sense. We have made everything so efficient that there is no resiliency in the system. It's super efficient, sort of like one of those little tiny cars, little plastic cars that it's, it gets great fuel efficiency, but as soon as it gets love tapped by anything, it turns into a crumpled ball, right? Because it's not strong, it's not resilient. That's basically what our supply chains have turned into. And so we have a little bit of a problem, and then boom, you go to the store and you're like, where are all the cucumbers? All right, getting off my soapbox. Danoman says, strange thing here in central Alabama. The leaves that are falling off the trees have a weird film on them. They stick to your shoes and to the ground. The consistency is kind of like those glue tubes or glue sticks that you used as kids to glue paper together. I've never seen anything like it before. It doesn't feel like the sap, and it's sticky like honey. I don't know another way to describe it. We're seeing oily film on stuff. We're seeing, it's just there's chemicals on stuff, and just where's it coming from? Mitch says, Northeast Georgia. In the last 2 weeks, we've had COVID and stomach virus, and now hand, foot, and mouth colds. We got Paprika saying, in regard to giving bees a drink of water, we have a little stone waterfall that we picked up at a yard sale and a bird bath, and we've kept them full of water. The only bees, though, that have visited us have been yellow jackets. This is Northern California. This was the worst season for our garden ever. I had only a handful of tomatoes, no green beans, And so far, no peppers and only zucchini to show for my hard work. I swear, if we had nuclear Armageddon, we'd still get zucchinis, right? Am I right? Mitch says, Northeast Georgia. In the last 2 weeks, we've had, sorry, we just read that one. Debbie says, I have been baking all of our bread for over a year and a half when I discovered store-bought bread wouldn't mold. Even after a year, yet it remains soft. That being said, my sister gave us a bunch of leftover bread and rolls from an event she had, and even our chickens won't eat it. So what's up with the bread? I know they're putting chemicals and preservatives in there, but I think a lot of our animals are getting to the point where like they don't want to eat this stuff. Bella says, Ohio. Hubby was reading the news the other day. An Ohio Republican is trying to push through a bill that will allow the utility providers and government to monitor, reduce, and to turn off your utilities remotely. I remember 2 years ago when I refused the smart meters and said this very thing for this very reason, for not wanting one. Kentucky Utilities said, oh, we just want you to have the convenience of knowing your usage to the minute. I said, I'm not interested in knowing this. You are. And frankly, I do not trust you all. The upshot now is I don't have their meter, and I do have to pay their meter reader $15 per month for this service. If any of you live in Ohio, you better put up your fighting gloves on because there may be a war over your utilities on the horizon. Imagine that. It's super cold or super hot, and they just go in there and switch you off. How will you handle that? Rocky Stone says, Central Florida. We also have had issues with our hay. Our goats and sheep won't eat it, except for one. She got sick and died the next day. Farm vet says it looks like a case of poisoning. We are pissed. Susan says Colorado Springs, but location not related to the information. This is for those I'm concerned with the salmon shortages. It may be a bit more science than most people want, but for the first time since records have been kept of Panama's annual coastal upwelling, it didn't happen. The upwelling brings important nutrients from the deeper waters that small fish like anchovies feed on. Now, I'm not sure. These smaller fish are used to feed farm raised salmon. So we talked about that before, about report that the small fish that they feed at the farms to the salmon and other fish, there's a shortage of the feed fish. And apparently there's stuff happening out in the oceans causing problems with that. Daisy Wings says, Central Wisconsin, a local grocery store had 0 ground beef. Our 2 Aldi stores and the locally owned grocery store seem to be struggling to keep produce on the shelves. The local store has half as many produce displays as they did a year ago, and they are usually less than half filled at best. They haven't had any pre-bagged apples available for months. We heard that the apple harvest is behind schedule, right? Aldi has gasoline-scented mandarin oranges. I left them there. They don't smell right, and they won't taste right either. Thanks for all you do, Steve. And Kitty Mama says, about the bird song helping your plants. Apparently there's science behind that. You can still purchase the sonic bloom system for your garden and home. There's other ways to apparently get the noise in there, or there's song things or stuff that you can play for your plants, certain kinds of music. It imitates bird and insect, this sonic bloom system. You go out in the early morning and hit your plants with it. It's supposed to make the plants healthy, productive, and even change their DNA. It sounds crazy to me, but apparently it's a thing. Amy says, Kentucky, watch your utility bills. Noticed a high water bill and decided to check it out with a call to the provider. Come to find out, I have been overcharged for multiple months on water. A policy change back in April was the culprit, I'm told. A bill of $170 was reduced down to $35. Check your bills and keep an eye on those charges because they will be overlooked by people who don't know the problems exist until you make light of it. And that's just one thing I'll throw out there. if you ever have like a water main break or you have flooding happen in your house and your water bill goes sky high for 1 month until you fix whatever just happened, a lot of water companies will, if you call them and tell them there's a break, they'll give you like a grace month. So they'll take that bill down to your average or something along those lines. They'll do it like once. Maybe there's different policies with different companies and such, but if you ever get into a real big problem with one really bad month on the water bill, a lot of times they will have a grace month that they'll offer you. So make sure you reach out to your providers, utilities, and be asking questions. All right, friends, thanks so much for joining with us. If you want to get some more information from Genesis Gold about what you can do with your retirement account, there's a link right there on the screen. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up there. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.